She knows he'll hurt her, and still she can't look away. It's not logic pulling her in. It's not love. It's something deeper, older, darker. Something Carl Jung understood all too well. The dangerous man doesn't attract because of what he says. He attracts because of what he embodies. Power, rebellion, fire, but most importantly, her own shadow. Because when a woman is drawn to a man who's dangerous, it's not just about him. It's about what she's been taught to reject in herself, her rage, her desire, her chaos, her hunger. All of it was locked away. She was raised to be nice, to be gentle, to be pleasing, to stay small. So where did all that suppressed energy go? Into the unconscious, into the shadow. And when it finds a mirror, in a man who lives unapologetically, recklessly, wildly, it ignites something buried, not lust. Recognition. She sees what she's never allowed herself to become, and part of her wants it. Not because she wants to be destroyed, but because she wants to feel alive. The dangerous man isn't safe, but he's free. And for someone who's lived her whole life in a cage, freedom is seductive. Even if it cuts, especially if it cuts. Because pain means something is real, and after a lifetime of pretending, realness is addictive. But this isn't just about women or relationships. It's about projection. Jung said, "The woman will be attracted to the man who carries her shadow." What does that mean? It means we don't fall in love with people. We fall in love with what they carry for us, the parts of ourselves we can't yet face. The dangerous man carries the wild feminine, the part of her that's untamed, unfiltered, unapologetic, and instead of owning it, she finds it in him. But here's the danger. When we project our shadow onto someone else, we give them our power. We make them gods or monsters, and then we wonder why love turns toxic, why attraction feels like obsession, why it starts like a dream and ends like a war. Because what we're chasing isn't them. We're chasing ourselves, the parts we lost, the fire we gave up to be accepted, the voice we silenced to be loved, and until we reclaim it, we'll keep searching for it in others, over and over again. Different names, same story. This is why the same patterns repeat. Why women find themselves with men who burn them and still come back for more. It's not weakness, it's psychology. Unconscious. Drives are stronger than conscious intention. You can know someone's wrong for you and still feel pulled because it's not about them. It's about the part of you you haven't claimed yet. The shadow always finds a way to speak. If not through you, then through the people you obsess over. Carl Jung didn't judge this. He understood. Yet he saw relationships as mirrors, and the ones that hurt the most, they're often the ones that show us what we most need to reclaim, but only if we're willing to see. The attraction isn't always romantic. Sometimes it shows up in the friend who's always on the edge, the leader who commands without apology, the artist who creates without filters. But the reaction is the same, a magnetic pull towards someone who lives outside your own rules. It's not the danger that pulls you in, it's the freedom. The dangerous man lives a life you've only imagined in secret. He breaks norms, speaks hard truths, takes what he wants. And that kind of rawness, when you've been conditioned to be polite and soft, doesn't scare you, it calls you. Because part of you knows, there's something inside me that's just as wild. Jung believed that this pull is the psyche's way of calling us back to ourselves. The dangerous man isn't the answer. He's the signal that something in you is underfed, lived, unclaimed. He embodies your rejected traits, and you, without realizing it, try to get close to your shadow by getting close to him. But here's the catch. You can never become whole through someone else. You can chase the thrill, the high, the chaos. But unless you're willing to meet your own shadow, it's all just a loop. He shows you what's possible, yes. But if you don't do the work of owning what you project onto him, the story always ends the same. You'll resent him, you'll fear him, you'll hate him, because eventually the cost of staying in his orbit outweighs the thrill, and your unconscious will demand balance. This is when things collapse. you'll say, "He changed." But really, you woke up. You realized the power wasn't in him. It was in you all along, you just weren't ready to carry it. So you let him carry it for you. Until now. Now the question becomes, what would it mean to stop projecting your wildness? 2. Stop chasing it in someone else and start embodying it? This is the turning point Jung described. The moment when you stop romanticizing the danger and start integrating the desire. When you say, "I don't need someone else to live my fire. I am the fire." And from that moment forward, the dangerous man loses his grip. Not because he's any less wild, but because you are no longer incomplete. The hook was never him. It was your own unclaimed energy. Now that energy belongs to you, the real you. Not the mask, not the pleaser, not the good girl, but the one who lives her truth even when it's messy, loud, complicated. Especially then. The dangerous man was never your path. He was your mirror. And now that you see that, you don't need mirrors anymore. You need truth. The shadow doesn't just hide rage and desire. It hides the reasons you gave them up in the first place. Maybe someone told you you were too much, too loud, too intense, too sensitive, too angry. You shrunk, you smiled, you became agreeable, and the wild part of you, the one that couldn't be controlled, it went underground, not gone, just buried. Jung called this the personal unconscious, the psychic basement where we store everything unacceptable. But here's the thing, everything in that basement still breathes. It still wants to be seen. And when it can't come out through your voice, your art, your choices, it comes out in your obsessions. That's why some women feel addicted to men who are chaotic. It's not a moral flaw. It's a psychic strategy. Your mind is trying to bring balance by attracting what you suppress. This is projection. At its most dangerous, you meet someone with fire, and you hand them the keys to your soul, not because of who they are, but because of what they represent, your lost self. But here's what Jung teaches us. Projection is a beginning, not a life. Sentence, it's a signal. It says there's something here you need to reclaim. Not copy, not romanticize, reclaim. The goal isn't to become reckless like him. It's to embody your truth with the same unapologetic energy. That's integration. It means taking the qualities you see in the dangerous man, power, passion, unpredictability, and locating them in you. How do you speak when you're not afraid? How do you move when you're not performing? What would you create if you didn't fear judgment? These are shadow questions. They bring you back to center, to self. They turn obsession into insight. They turn chaos into clarity. Because once you realize the attraction isn't about him, it's about you. You reclaim everything. Your voice, your edge, your intensity. And suddenly, you don't chase anymore. You don't beg to be chosen. You don't confuse pain with passion. You stop trying to find freedom in other people's fire, because yours is already burning. Quietly, maybe, but burning. And it's time to feed it, not with more drama, not with another heartbreak, but with your own truth. The dangerous man doesn't disappear, but his power over you does. He becomes what he always was. A symbol, a teacher, a test. And you stop being the student. You become the flame. What happens when you stop seeing him as the answer? When you stop romanticizing his edge and start owning yours? Everything changes, because the woman who integrates her shadow doesn't need chaos. To feel alive, she is life, and that's terrifying for those who once controlled her through shame. See, society prefers women fragmented, sweet but not fierce, smart but not loud, confident but not too bold. Because a whole woman, one who owns her light and her darkness, she's untouchable. She doesn't follow, she leads, she doesn't beg, she decides. She doesn't chase approval, she defines her own worth. Jung knew this inner wholeness is rare because it requires the one thing most people run from, self-confrontation. You have to look at the parts of you that you swore you'd never touch again, the angry you, the jealous you, The sexual, hungry, disobedient you. Not to shame them, to understand them, to reclaim their power. Because those parts, they aren't flaws, they're fuel. Everything you've been taught to hide is exactly what you need to become real. You don't need to be saved, you need to be seen, first by yourself. When you do that, the dynamic flips. The dangerous man no longer seems mysterious. You see him clearly now, not as a god, not as a devil, but as a man. Flawed, human, maybe even lost in his own shadow. And if he's done his inner work, maybe there's something there to build. But if not, you walk away with ease. Because you're not looking for someone to complete you. You're not looking for drama to awaken you. You've already met your own wildness. And it didn't destroy you. It rebuilt you. Now you don't fear darkness. You've walked through it, you've eaten with it, you've made peace with the voices inside that once scared you. That's the true journey of individuation. Becoming whole, not by denying your shadow, but by dancing with it, and from that place, you don't fall in love with danger anymore. You fall in love with depth, with presence, with people who've done their own inner work, because you know what it takes, you know what it costs. And you're not here for shallow fireworks. You're here for truth. You're here for something real. This is the power they never wanted you to find, the power of being whole. Not perfect, not polished, whole. To see yourself clearly, to feel your rage and not act out, to feel your desire and not suppress it, to feel your darkness and not be ruled by it. That is power, that is freedom, and that is what Jung called individuation, becoming. The self, not the persona, not the mask you wear for love, not the role you play to stay safe, but the unfiltered, integrated you, because when the shadow is denied, it leaks. But when it's owned, it amplifies. It gives your boundaries teeth. It gives your words weight. It gives your presence gravity. That's why people start to react differently. You no longer attract those who need you weak to feel strong. You attract those who recognize wholeness because they've built their own. And that old obsession, that pull toward chaos dressed as chemistry, it fades. Not with bitterness, but with clarity. You see the dangerous man now for what he was. A messenger, a mirror, a myth your unconscious needed to believe until you were ready to believe in yourself. You no longer need to be rescued or shaken. Wake, you are the fire now. And here's the final truth. The shadow isn't your enemy. It's your depth. It's your instinct. It's your forgotten voice. When you integrate it, you don't become less good. You become more real. And realness? That's what the world fears most. Because real people can't be controlled. They can't be shamed into silence. They don't fall for illusions. They see what's false. They speak what's true. And they walk away when something costs their soul. This is your edge now. Not recklessness, but sovereignty. You don't need a man to make you feel wild. You don't need danger to feel alive. You've walked through your own hell and come back with your voice intact. That's not just strength. That's transformation. And it doesn't come from chasing another's fire. It comes from reclaiming your own. That's the truth Jung left us. The dangerous ones aren't out there. They live inside us. And until we make peace with that, we'll keep searching for them in others. But once we do, we don't search, we see, we choose, and we become.